Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dives. I am your host.
And I am your expert guide for today.
It is so great to have you listening with us. Now, usually, you know how this goes, we are wading through massive stacks of business reports, looking at historical archives, or analyzing complex scientific journals to pull out the hidden insights.
Right. We usually focus on very complex topics.
But today we are pivoting. We are doing something a little bit different.
We are heading into the language lab, so to speak.
Exactly. We realized recently that a huge portion of you, our listeners, are actually using these deep dives to improve your English. You are listening to our complex topics just to train your ear.
Which is a fantastic way to learn, by the way.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, why not turn the lens on the language itself? We have curated a specific stack of textbooks, learning guides.
Specifically, a great guide on moving from B1 to B2 language levels.
Yeah, and even some short story collections. And the mission for this deep dive is to tackle one of the most notoriously difficult parts of the English language.
Phrasal verbs.
Phrasal verbs. Those little combinations of words that drive learners absolutely crazy.
They really do. I mean, you take a normal verb, you add a short preposition, and suddenly the meaning changes completely.
It feels like a secret code sometimes.
It does. But we are not just going to read a long, boring list to you. We want to really unpack them, look at the context, and give you a strategy to actually remember them.
Right. So we were focusing on just 5 high-impact phrases today. Nice, calm, and slow.
Just 5.
Yeah.
But before we get to the first word, we need to talk about our methodology. We found a fascinating article in our stack detailing the 12 best English podcasts.
Oh, yeah. That one was interesting.
It was, but it did not just list shows. It gave a specific piece of advice on how to listen. It touched on the concept of active listening.
Active listening.
Yeah. I think a lot of people assume that just having English playing in the background is enough to become fluent, just absorbing it from the air.
I am definitely guilty of that. I will put something on while I'm doing the dishes and just zone out completely. I hear the noise, but I do not really hear the words.
And then it's fine for general familiarity, but this source was very specific about real learning. It said, and I quote, "New words are less likely to stick unless you write them down."
Write them down.
Yes. It explicitly suggests keeping a notepad handy to note down new vocabulary while you listen.
It is about that physical connection, right? Between the hand and the brain. If you just hear it, it evaporates. If you write it, you are physically encoding it into your memory.
Precisely. So that is our challenge to you, the listener, right now. We are going to treat this session like a workshop. As we go through these 5 phrases, we do not just want you to nod along.
We want you to actively engage.
Exactly. In the comment section or on a piece of paper if you prefer, we want you to write a sentence for each word we discussed today. Test yourself.
It is the best way to beat that learning plateau. So, are you ready to open the books?
Let's do it.
And honestly, the first word is the perfect match for what we just discussed. The phrase is write down.
Write down. Now, looking at our source material from Reply, the definition seems very simple at first. To write down means to note something on paper or a device so you do not forget it.
But there is a little nuance there, isn't there? Because we already have the verb, to write. I can write a book. I can write a long letter. But write down feels more immediate.
It does. Write down implies preservation. You are capturing a small piece of information that would otherwise be lost.
Right.
You are not writing down a novel. You are writing down a phone number, a reminder, or a new idea.
I actually found a really great illustration of this in the Reader's Handbook source. It was describing the mechanics of a classroom library system.
Oh, the checkout system, how the students borrow the books.
Yes, exactly. It explains that inside the books there are these little cards. And the rule is that students must write their names on the cards before taking the book.
Think about the function there. If they do not write down their name, there is no record.
The information is just gone.
Right. The book disappears. But by writing it down, they create accountability.
The handbook also suggested a second activity, which I thought was really nice. It suggested keeping a chart for students to write their thoughts about the books.
That elevates it a bit. Now, you are not just preserving a name. You are preserving an opinion or a feeling.
Yeah. And bringing it back to that advice from the podcast article we mentioned earlier, it explicitly said to make sure you have a notepad to note down new vocabulary.
Note down, write down. They are very similar phrases.
Interchangeable in many contexts, I would say.
Yes. But write down is probably the most common one in everyday spoken English. You hear it in meetings all the time. People will say, hang on, let me write that down.
It is a tool for memory. If you think about it, We do not trust our brains to hold everything. I know I certainly cannot trust my brain to hold a grocery list for more than 5 minutes.
That is a good life hack. Do not rely on mental storage. Get it on paper.
So here is the first prompt for you, our listeners. What is something you need to preserve today? Is it a shopping list? A meeting time? Or maybe you just need to write down a new English word.
Put it in the comments. Type out, I need to write down, and then tell us what it is.
Okay, let's move the narrative forward. You have written down your tasks. Now, you need to start the day. That leads us to word number 2, wake up.
Wake up. This comes from the English source, entry number 98.
Now, surely everyone knows what wake up means. It feels very basic.
You would think so, but the source makes a very important distinction here. It defines it simply as to stop sleeping. It also lists synonyms like to awake or to get up. But I think we need to be careful with the phrase get up.
I was just going to ask about that because in my morning routine, waking up and getting up are two very different events.
Usually separated by a lot of time.
Usually separated by about 20 minutes of me looking at my phone in the dark, yes.
Exactly. And that is the key difference. Wake up is the biological change from sleep to consciousness. Your eyes open, your brain turns on.
And get up.
Get up is the physical act of leaving the bed. You can wake up at 7 o'clock, but you might not get up until 7:30.
That makes perfect sense. I found a simple usage example in Story 1, The Mysterious Letter, from our stack. It sets the scene by saying, every morning, Sarah wakes up at 7 a.m.
That is a very standard routine description. But if you look deeper into the English source materials, there was a fascinating sentence about dreams that uses wake up in a much more philosophical way.
Oh, I think I missed that one. What was the context?
It was discussing how we perceive reality. It said dreams feel real while we are in them. It is only when we wake up that we realize something was actually strange.
Oh, I really like that. It is only when we wake up. It is used like a boundary.
Yes. It marks the transition from illusion to reality. You can use this in a deeper way, too. You can tell someone to wake up to the truth.
Like saying, wake up and smell the coffee.
Exactly. It means stop ignoring the reality right in front of you. Pay attention.
So it is versatile, it is biological, but it is also about awareness.
But for our listeners practicing today, let's stick to the literal daily routine. We want to know about your daily rhythm.
I am curious about this. I am a night owl myself. I hate waking up early. If I could wake up at noon every day, I absolutely would. What about your routine?
I am the complete opposite. I wake up when the sun comes up, usually around 5:30 or 6 in the morning.
That sounds painful.
It is peaceful. The world is quiet. I like to wake up before all the work emails start coming in.
Well, listeners, whose side are you on? Do you wake up early or late like me? And remember the distinction we made. We are not asking when you get out of bed. We are asking when you open your eyes.
Type it out in the comments. I usually wake up at and add your time. It is a simple sentence, but building that muscle memory is key to fluency.
All right, word number 3. We have written our lists. We have woken up. Now we have to go out into the world. The word is show up.
Show up. We are looking at English entry number 85 for this one. The definition provided is to arrive or to appear.
This is one of those phrases that native speakers use constantly. But it can be confusing for learners because the word show usually involves vision, like showing someone a picture.
Right. But in this phrase, you are the thing being shown. You are presenting yourself at a location. You are appearing.
Now, I noticed in the source list, right next to show up at entry 85, was entry 84, show off.
Oh, yes. We have to be very careful not to mix those two up.
Huge difference. If I go to a party, I show up. That just means I walk through the door. If I start juggling fire bottles to get everyone's attention, I am showing off.
That is a perfect example. Show off is about ego and boasting. Show up is neutral. It is just about attendance.
Although, is it always neutral? I feel like showing up carries a bit of emotional weight. Like
Yeah.
if I say to a friend, I need you to show up for me today, that implies reliability.
That's a really good point. In relationships, it is not just about being physically present. It is about fulfilling an obligation or being supportive.
Right. But in the context of the English examples, it is mostly about physical arrival. For instance, in a business context, you might ask, did the client show up for the meeting?
Or, for us today, we scheduled this recording session. If you had not showed up, there would be no deep dive.
But I did show up, and you showed up. We are both here.
Thankfully, it suggests that things do not always go to plan, though. You can show up late, you can show up early, or, worst case scenario, you cannot show up at all.
And usually when we use show up instead of just the word arrive, There is a hint of expectation. You would not usually say, the train showed up at the station. You would just say the train arrived. But you would say, my friend finally showed up at the station.
Because you were actively waiting for them. There's a personal element to it. You expect a person to show up.
Exactly. So for the listeners, where is a place you were expected to be today? Where do you need to show up?
Maybe at work, at school, or at soccer practice.
Practice the phrase in the comments. I need to show up at.
Okay, moving on to word number 4. This one is really fun. We were actually looking for a slightly different phrase in the original outline, but the source material gave us something much more colorful to use. The phrase is run into.
Run into. This is in the English source, in the block of words between 56 and 81.
Now, visually, this sounds quite aggressive, running into something.
It does have two distinct meanings in the text. One is physical and violent. To crash or hit something, like a car running into a wall.
Ouch. But that is not how we usually use it in daily conversation, is it?
No, usually we use the second definition provided in the source, to meet unexpectedly.
Like serendipity, a happy accident.
Yes, but I just have to share the specific example sentence from the English source because it is so unique.
Please do.
The source says, if you run into crocodiles, just kick them with your boots.
I'm sorry, what?
If you run into crocodiles.
Okay, that is not the advice I was expecting from an English guide. First of all, if I run into a crocodile, I am definitely not kicking it. I am running the other way.
I would strongly advise against the kicking, yes. But it highlights the meaning perfectly, doesn't it? Okay. You are walking along, minding your own business, and suddenly, surprise, a crocodile.
You did not plan it.
Right. You ran into it.
That creates a very vivid image. But let's apply this to a more common, everyday scenario so our listeners do not think we're giving dangerous survival advice.
Sure. Usually we run into people. I ran into my old teacher at the coffee shop yesterday.
It implies you did not have an appointment with them.
Right. If you plan to meet your teacher, you would say, I met my teacher. Ran into means it was pure chance.
I love that phrase. It adds a lot of flavor to a story. It tells the listener right away that this meeting was a complete coincidence.
It is a great social connector, too. People always say, guess who I ran into today?
So ideally, in your daily life, you want to run into friends, not crocodile.
That is a very solid rule for happiness.
Listeners, think back to your week. Have you had any surprise meetings? Did you run into a neighbor at the store? A colleague?
Or a crocodile. We want to know. Write it in the comments. I ran into. And tell us who.
All right, we are down to our final phrase. Word number 5. This one feels a bit faster. It is about pace. The phrase is, keep up with.
Keep up with. This is English entry number 56.
What is the core definition here?
The text defines it as to keep informed about, not to lose track of. But it also carries a physical meaning, which is to move at the exact same speed as someone else.
Exactly. If we walk down the street together and I have long legs and walk very fast, you might struggle to keep up with me. You are falling behind.
Which happens very often, by the way. You walk terribly fast.
I am working on it, but the more abstract meaning is really relevant for our listeners studying English.
Right. We saw this in the source titled How to Move from B1 to B2. That talks about the intermediate plateau.
That stage where you feel like you are not learning anything new anymore, the source mentions that language is a muscle. If you do not keep exercising it, it shrinks.
So you have to keep up with your practice.
And you have to keep up with the new vocabulary. Native speakers speak fast. In a real conversation, if you are translating every single word in your head, you simply cannot keep up with the discussion.
It is about processing speed.
And information flow in general. Think about the news. There is so much happening in the world right now.
Oh, it is impossible. I try to read the headlines every morning, but I just cannot keep up with everything.
That is a perfect usage of the phrase, I cannot keep up with the news. Or, to use a pop culture reference, keeping up with the Kardashians.
It implies the subject is moving faster than you are, and you are trying to stay on track.
So for the listener, what is challenging your speed right now? Is it your English lessons? Is it a TV show where the actors speak too quickly?
Or is it just life in general? Sometimes I feel like I cannot keep up with my emails.
That is a universal struggle. Let us know below. Type out, it is hard to keep up with.
So we have covered 5 very different, very useful phrases today.
We have, and they actually form a bit of a story if you look at them all together.
Let's quickly recap that journey for the listeners.
First, you have to plan. You need to write down your goals or your vocabulary list so you do not forget them. Write down means to make a note.
Then you have to physically wake up, stop sleeping, open your eyes, and become aware of the day.
Once you are up, you have to show up. You have to arrive at your job or your class and be present. Show up means to arrive.
While you're out there showing up, you might run into someone unexpected. Hopefully a friend, not a reptile. Run into means to meet by chance.
And finally, as things get busy, you have to try to keep up with the pace of life and learning. Keep up with means to go at the same speed or stay informed.
5 phrases. If you master these, you're not just memorizing words. You are describing the real human experience.
And that brings us right back to the core advice from our B1 to B2 source guide. It had a wonderful section on the emotional side of learning.
It did. It talked about the fear of mistakes.
It said that one of the biggest barriers to moving from intermediate to advanced English is that people get scared. They do not want to sound foolish, so they just stop speaking.
But the source reminds us, language is a muscle. Without speaking and writing, it will not grow. You have to use it.
That is exactly why we pushed you so hard to write in the comments today. We do not care if you make a spelling mistake. We do not care if the grammar is slightly off.
The simple act of showing up in the comments is what matters.
So here's your final invitation. Pick one word, just one. Write down, wake up, show up, run into or keep up with, and leave us a sentence.
We read them all, and we're really rooting for you.
Thank you for taking this deep dive into the language with us today. Keep practicing.
Good luck with your studies, and we will speak to you soon. End with a final provocative thought, though. Next time you are listening to someone speak, ask yourself, are you just hearing the words, or are you actually keeping up with the hidden meanings behind them?